Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Crafty Quinn. My name is Megan, and today I have for you 5 ways to use 5 of Dollar Tree's Valentine's Day wood signs, and it's also a collab with 5 other crafters. So really exciting video ahead, and let's get started. Jumping right in here, we have this first palette wood board sign, and so we have a couple of these in today's video. And today's video consists of a lot of painting, so I tried to cut down as much as possible. So I apologize if it seems like I'm moving pretty fast on some of these, but there were just so many steps involved, I had to make some cuts. So with this first one, I am doing 2 layers of paint on this palette wood sign, and I really love this sign. It's always tricky when I grab these at Dollar Tree because I'm like, I really want to do something with them, but it can be difficult to figure out what to do. But luckily this year they have a lot of great lace to work with, so I cut it all down to size after I painted my palette board sign here. You can tell I put white in the very, very middle slats of this sign because I thought it was a nice contrast. And then I cut down the lace ribbon that you see here and just, sized it really to each slat and then just cut it on each side. And then really to make it fit the sign, I actually ended up trimming up some of the edges of the lace because I didn't want it to go too far past the sign, if that makes sense. But for this next step, as you see here, I am taking a stencil brush, and what I'm doing off camera is I'm dabbing off the excess off of my paintbrush, but I'm using this stencil brush as a way to distress the sign with some white chalk paint. And so I like to put as little paint on my brush as possible when I'm distressing. Whether it's antique wax or paint, I do not put a lot. And that's because I like to go back and add more later if I feel like it's not enough. And this trick has served me well in the past because that way I'm not starting off too heavy, just go light and then add more as you go along. So I like to do something called catching the edges, where you just kind of catch the edge of the brush on the edge of the sign that you're working with, and that kind of gives it more of a distressed look that I prefer. So I'm doing more of that here, and I do go ahead and lift up underneath the lace, and I just go ahead and take my brush underneath that. And because I'm using so very little paint on my brush, you don't really have to worry about the wet paint because I mean it's so small that it's such a small amount of paint that it dries so quick, and chalk paint dries so quickly as it is that it's such a light layer that you don't really have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about your lace getting touched by the white paint. I mean, it's literally all of it is white anyway, so it's not like it makes a difference. So you can just kind of do this at your leisure. So I did that to the entire sign, and next I'm taking this pearl garland that Dollar Tree has out right now with their Valentine's Day decor stuff. This is where I found it. They have it in a couple other colors. They had it in pink, they also had it in purple, and I just went with the ivory color. I thought it was really cool. I felt like it could go with a lot of things, so that's why I ended up going with this. But so there was a lot of footage of me messing around with this garland, so I had to cut out a lot of it. But really the trick with working with this garland is to hot glue down the large pearls that you see there. And they're kind of like, spacers kind of, because they're what holds the garland to the sign really. So you want to glue those down first, and then if it seems like, everything is still hanging off too much, then you can go back and glue down the little tiny ones. But those little tiny pearls were just so small, and it's just better if you have a very a fine tip hot glue gun with this as well, because that's really helpful. And just with working with small pearls of this size. So like I said, just glue down the larger beads first and then go back and worry about the little ones. So I kind of did that trick to both sides, and that's really all there is to it. I just added a thin lace ribbon to hold it up, and that's all you need, and this is done. So this is just a quick reminder to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. If you like what you see on the channel, please make sure to comment. I love reading your comments. Tell me what your favorite DIY is. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel grow. Okay, we are moving on here to the next sign. Man, this one, you guys, this one had a lot of steps to it because I'm using a lot of different colors. But this is Dollar Tree's Valentine's Day wood sign. As you can tell, it is out right now with their Valentine's Day decor, if you are lucky enough to find it. And I say that because these things go quick, so you want to grab it when you see it. But I'm taking some antique wax here, and I'm using a makeup remover wipe actually, and I love doing this trick because it helps spread around the wax. And so that's what I do first. What I like about this is, you know what, you can just go ahead and be as messy as you want up front, and then you go back with tiny brushes and you fix things. So I just was as messy as I wanted to be, and it just kind of allows you the freedom to, you know, put the wax where you want to. And so I just kind of put it in certain areas, and you'll see why I did that later, but I really like the cool effect that comes out. So I'm taking some white chalk paint next here, and I'm kind of drawing the headlight of the truck in kind of like a small little oval shape, and that's really, I guess, how it kind of turned out best, like a headlight. And I mean, like I said, you're gonna need a lot of tiny brushes for this craft, and really for a lot of the crafts that I had today, you have to use a lot of tiny brushes. But so I did that with the windows of the truck as well, and what's great about this truck is there's so many little outlines. As you can see, there's an outline for the door right there, so I went in with a microscopic little brush and just took some white paint and just filled that in. And so that was great because you can just, you know, use that to fill in all of the tiny little cutouts that they have. And I really liked that it kind of had like those laser incisions in there, so it really made it easy to fill this in and make it look like a truck. So I'm just kind of taking another brush. I'm using Waverly white chalk paint for all of the white pieces on here, and then I used a lacquer red color, and that's another Waverly color, and I use that for a lot of my crafts. And so that is what color I'm using for the body of the truck. And then as you can see there, I did go ahead and paint the wheels black. But like I said, you need a tiny brush because these lines that I'm following, they're so tiny. You have to really look closely, and it's really hard to show that here on the camera, so I apologize if you can't see the lines, but there is a small kind of like laser incision that I'm working against, and that's what's helping me keep the paint within the lines. So that is just kind of the process that I'm following here, just kind of filling in one section at a time. I'm using a very, very light pink color I found at Michael's, and I'm just using that for the rest of the hearts. I did it to the wheels of the truck, as you can tell, and I decided to kind of put that in the background. It's supposed to look like there's hearts in kind of like the trunk of the truck. So I just painted them all pink. And then I took a bunch of those ivory foam flowers that Dollar Tree has out right now, and it's not in their floral section, it is in with their Valentine's Day decor section. I've had a lot of questions on where to find these foam flowers, and they are out with their brand new Dollar Tree Valentine's Day decor section, so that is where you find them. So I decided to kind of jazz it up a bit by putting a tiny little picture from one of those Dollar Tree calendars, Dollar Tree 2022 calendars, and I thought it would look so cute on the door of this truck, so I just used some Mod Podge to secure it down, and I just kind of pressed and held it there for a little bit, but I did actually go back and use my roller a few times over. I didn't want to use a ton of Mod Podge. I didn't want there to be a lot of bubbles because that can happen sometimes. So for that calendar piece, this is the calendar that I took that from, so be on the lookout for this calendar if you have it in your house. That is where I took it from. And some Dollar Trees actually still have these. I've been able to see them on occasion, but then they're gone the next time. But I'm saying that they're still out there. So this is how it turned out, and I absolutely love this truck, you guys. I want to have it forever. So today is a collab with 5 other crafters. There is a playlist down in my description box. Go check their videos out. They have tons of Valentine's Day decor inspiration for you. Thank you so much for hosting Freckled Mom DIY from house to home. Check out everyone else on this list, and you will not be disappointed. So for this next pallet board wood sign, so this is another raw piece. I went ahead and just kind of skipped a step here because I didn't want to show you a ton of painting. So I went ahead, painted this with that white chalky color. It's Waverly white, and I use that for a lot of crafts, obviously. But so I painted that, as you can tell, and now I'm using a Waverly Antique Wax that I also use for a lot of crafts, as you may have noticed in my previous Valentine's Day videos that I've done this year. I've used antique wax a lot, but it's just kind of something that I love to do and kind of gives things a distressed, rustic look, so I'm just going to keep on using it. So I just took my stencil brush here, and I just do some quick swipes, and as you can tell, I do kind of really touch up the edges of the sign, and that's what I like to do to really make this look older. So I'm showing you more of the process today, but otherwise, yeah, I just follow the whole process that I'm doing here for the whole sign. Now this craft, you may recognize this craft from my very, very first Valentine's Day decor video of this year. So if you want to check out how I made this love sign, please go check out my first Valentine's Day video that I put out this year, and that is how I made this. But I decided to add this little succulent holder to the sign, and I was like, this needs to, as soon as I saw this, I'm like, with this palette board, I'm like, this needs to be combined. This needs to be one big unit. And I'm also listening to you guys, my subscribers, by going with this next step. You guys, a lot of you guys told me that I need to put moss in the bottom of my succulent holder because then I don't have to use as many flowers to fill it up. What I was doing was I was putting all of those little tiny ivory foam flowers in this thing, but if I had just used moss in the bottom like you guys had suggested, then I wouldn't have had to use as many flowers. So now I'm taking your guys' advice. So thank you guys for the tip. Thank you to my subscribers for suggesting this. You guys spoke, I listened, and I'm so glad you guys pointed this out because it is so smart. So thank you for the tip. So that is a nice base here to the succulent holder. I mean, another version of this, you know, you can obviously use Spanish moss if you want, and that is more of like, goes with the brown palette, I guess. I don't know why I decided to go with reindeer moss for this, but it was just what I was feeling in the moment. Now, to secure those little tiny ivory foam flowers, you're going to need some, what do you call it, toothpicks. Yeah, toothpicks, and I just put them in the bottom of each flower, just kind of stick into the flower as far as you can go, and then you just stick it into the moss. And I like doing this because it really helps hold everything in place. It helps secure it. You don't have to worry about hot gluing and getting stuck to the moss. You don't have to worry about the flowers falling out of your succulent holder. So I just started doing this trick. I didn't see anyone else do this. I just started, I don't know, I just thought of it one day. I was like, I need something to hold them in place, so let's grab some toothpicks. So I only needed 5 to fill this up, and you guys may have noticed that the lace on the succulent holder is a little bit darker. I added some antique wax just to darken it up a bit, just to match my layered ribbon that I put together here, and I just wanted to give this more shabby chic, rustic feels. And to top it off, I went back and I added a brooch that was given to me by Teresa B DIY, who is in our playlist, so make sure to check her out. Thank you, Teresa, for the brooch. I love it, and I'm so glad I got to use it for something. She gave that to me a while ago in a stash swap, and so I'm so glad I'm finally using it. So anyway, we're on to the next DIY here. This is the 4th DIY of the video, I think. Yeah, I think it is. And so this is a wood palette board here. It's just one of their plain ones, and I'm taking another one of their signs. This is actually a new metal sign from this year. I didn't see it last year. And it's super easy to take apart. You just, you know, all the glue comes off. You just rip this piece off right here. I wanted to show you just how easy it is to really take this thing apart, and just, there you go, plain metal. I love it. So as soon as I saw that in stores, I'm like, I gotta do something with this. So I messed around. I put some paper doilies around it. As you can tell, this is me just kind of testing things out with the larger size doily. That didn't quite fit, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use the white medium size doily, and that's how it's gonna look. But first, we are gonna paint this. So I use this green folk art color, and I've had this for a while. It is a chalk paint. I love it. Green is my favorite color, so any opportunity I can think of to use it for a craft, I do. As you guys can tell, I've done that with a lot. I actually used green and pink as my Valentine's Day color scheme in my last video. If you missed that, make sure to check it out. It's all about tiered tray DIYs for this year. So right now I am distressing this, obviously. I am taking more of Waverly's Antique Wax, and I'm just using a stencil brush and just going over it very lightly. I kind of like this greenish, brownish tint going on at the heart. it's kind of like the complete opposite way I thought I was going to go with this color-wise. So just trying things out, and I actually really liked the contrast between this color and the metal sign that I'm hot gluing on here. So I can't wait to show you guys the end result, but it came out way better than I thought it was going to, because I was like, I wasn't sure if like this brownish color was going to work out, but it ends up being fine. So I just used some hot glue for the middle of it. That's why I kind of left those pieces in the middle of the back of that sign, because I wanted it to kind of be the base to hold everything together. But I did go back and add some hot glue in the corners of that metal heart just to extra secure it. So once I glued down the paper doily, I noticed that it would be really cool if I could kind of make all of those tiny little details of the doily stand out a little bit more somehow. So I'm like, let's do some antique wax over this. Let's see what happens. And then it ended up turning out a lot better than I thought. You can see the outline of all of the flowers and the roses and just all of the details. I love how rustic and old this looks now. So we're going to take some lace ribbon and we're just going to start layering it up. I don't know if you can tell, but I just covered it up, but in the very middle of this paper doily, you can see the word love. I didn't notice that until after I had put the antique wax over it, because that's how much it had blended in with the paper. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. It stands out a little bit, but I might end up covering it up a little bit, but it's fine. So all of this ribbon that you see me about to hot glue, if I can actually pull up that ribbon piece here, all of this is Dollar Tree ribbon. All I did was just kind of lay things down. I just layered it by kind of throwing things together in like an X kind of shape, and that's how I just layer it. You know, you just kind of put things in like the opposite direction, and that's really how you get that nice layered look. And instead of tying it all together with twine, I decided to just throw a cute little button in the middle. I'm like, how cute is that, right? So that's really all it needs. And then I just hot glued all of the rest of the doily down too, because I was worried it was going to fall apart. So that's really all there is to this. And I can't believe how many cute signs I made already. I really love all of these. I just want to save them all. So this one is more of a modern farmhouse kind of look. It doesn't really fit a shabby chic theme like a lot of these are going with. This, I love how I just tossed the tag. So this one is their forever and always raw wood sign, as you can tell. I'm going to stain basically this whole thing, and you can kind of like invert the colors on this. You can do this the complete opposite way that I did this. After I did it like this, I'm like, oh man, I should have painted it all white and then made certain parts of it the stain color, but I decided to stain the whole thing and then kind of go back and add in some kind of finer details with some white paint to try and see how it would look and if I could get certain things to stand out, because I was like, do I want the whole thing to be stained? Do I want, like, I don't know, parts of it to just, you know, say, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that. But anyway, I decided to paint the heart white, so that does stand out. But then I wanted those two little wooden hearts above and below it to stand out as well. So for that piece, I decided to go with some scrapbook paper, but it was extremely hard to trace. So I ended up just taking my finger and just kind of making like an indent on the scrapbook paper and then just kind of cutting it out to the best of my ability. So that was how I did that. And if you guys know of a better way to do that, please let me know, because it's really difficult to kind of, you know, cut down something that's like, it's a little tiny heart instead of a larger heart. So it's a little bit hard to, you know, trace that out. But yeah, so I just made the best with what I got. So I decided to Mod Podge the scrapbook paper to those hearts once I finally got them cut out. So I did one with a darker shade scrapbook paper, as you can tell, and then I took more Mod Podge for the little tiny heart, and that scrapbook piece that you see right there, that is going to go up there. So that's really all there is to it. This is the very last craft of the video, so thank you guys for sticking around. If you watched through the whole video, make sure to leave an emoji down below. And this is the final look. I really love how it turned out. Please make sure again to check out the playlist if you haven't already. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to check out more videos, watch them here on the left. And let's keep in touch on Instagram. Have a great rest of your week, you guys.